Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Not on the floor. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mishtapad Paramahansa Padujikacharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila HG Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Padujikacharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. One more to get over there. Oh, you got it? You don't have the sheet anymore? Okay, all right. Sorry, Prabhu. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Deving saraswatim vyasam Tato jai mudiret. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto his mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 27th day of November 2021 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're reading today from the 5th canto, The Creative Impetus. Chapter 8, a description of the character of Bharata Maharaj, text number 26. And for those of you who may be wondering why we don't have a board to read the verse over, you'll see why in a minute. Okay, and we're not going to read the synonyms. Evam magatatmana manoratha kula vidyo mrigadhara kabhasena swarabda karmana yogaram banato vibranshita sayoga tapaso bhagavad aradhana lakshanat chakatam itaratha jat antara ena kunaka asanga saksha nikshesa pratipakshataya prak Padityakta dustyaja vidya bijatatasya tasyaivam antaraya vihita yogarumbanasya rajashir bharatasya tavan vagarbhaka poshana palana prinana lalananu sangena vigannatya atmanam ahir ivaku bilam duditikrama kala kadala rabasa apadyata. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami continued, "My dear king, in this way Bharata Maharaj was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire which was manifest in the form of the deer. Due to the fruitive results of his past deeds, he fell down from mystic yoga, austerity, and worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If it were not due to his past fruitive activity, how could he have been attracted to the deer after giving up the association of his own son and family, considering them stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual life? How could he show such uncontrollable affection for a deer? This was definitely due to his past karma. The king was so engrossed in petting and maintaining the deer that he fell down from his spiritual activities. In due course of time, insurmountable death, which is compared to a venomous snake that enters the hole created by a mouse, situated itself before him." Purport. As will be seen in later verses, Bharata Maharaj, at the time of death, would be forced to accept the body of a deer due to his attraction for the deer. In this regard, a question may be raised. How can a devotee be affected by his past misconduct and vicious activities? In the Brahma Samhita 554, it is said, "Karmani nirtahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam." For those engaged in devotional service, bhakti bhajana, the results of past deeds are indemnified, means cancelled. According to this, Bharata Maharaj could not be punished for his past misdeeds. The conclusion must be that Maharaj Bharata purposefully became over-addicted to the deer and neglected his spiritual advancement. To immediately rectify his mistake, for a short time he was awarded the body of a deer. This was just to increase his desire for mature devotional service. Although Bharata Maharaj was awarded the body of an animal, he did not forget what had previously happened due to his purposeful mistake. He was very anxious to get out of his deer body, and this indicates that his affection for devotional service was intensified, so much so that he was quickly to attain perfection in a Brahman body in the next life. It is with this conviction that we declare in our Back to Godhead magazine that devotees like the Goswamis living in Vrindavan, that's not the 6 Goswamis, the Goswamis now living in Vrindavan who purposely commit some sinful activity are born in the bodies of dogs, monkeys, and tortoises in that holy land. Thus they take on these lower life forms for a short while, and after they give up those animal bodies, they are again promoted to the spiritual world. Such punishment is only for a short period, and it is not due to past karma. It may appear to be due to past karma, but it is offered to rectify the devotee and bring him to pure devotional service. Om Ajnana Timbarandasya Gyanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, we've been reading about how Maharaj Bharata, who at an early age retired from his kingdom. He was running the world, and he did a wonderful job with that. He was making sure everyone was engaged in their swadharma and seeing to that they were progressing in devotional service. But then he retired and took to Bhakti Yoga in a meditative way. He was practicing meditation, but he was internally serving the Lord, and he was advancing in Pulaha Ashram. And then he was at the stage of bhava, which is just short of perfection of prema. Means that he was always in ecstasy and experiencing so many wonderful symptoms of great joy and happiness in relation to Krishna. But what happened, as we've learned, that he got attracted to a little fawn, a little baby deer, who was orphaned by his mother, who was frightened to death by a lion or a tiger. And so he took that deer under his wing, so to speak, and that deer became very much attached to him, and he became very much attached to the deer. And the description of his attachment is kind of similar to what you read about the great devotee's attachment to Krishna. I mean, it's not an ordinary, we become attached to our pets, but this was more than that. He was always thinking about the deer. He was worried about the deer. When he was meditating, what was that noise? Was the deer in danger, or the deer would come and nibble at his ear and distract him? He would go feed the deer. And so he became totally absorbed in the deer, to the detriment of his absorption in Krishna consciousness. So now we're coming to the end of that description, and this whole, I can't say verse, but long prose passage describes how that happened and what's now going to happen as he faces his death. It's coming. He's absorbed in a deer. He's going to take a deer body. But as we'll read, it's not an ordinary incarnation in a deer where your consciousness will be completely covered and you simply lose whatever memory you had in your previous life of your human life. No, he remembers everything. And then in the birth after the deer, he takes a birth in a Brahmin family, and there's no deviation anymore. And he has some wonderful conversations with a king named Rahugana, which are very, very instructive. So back to this passage here, which describes how it happened, because one may as Prabhupada explains in the purport, according to the Brahma Samhita and so many verses in the Bhagavad Gita, when you engage in devotional service, Krishna eradicates your karma. Sarva dharma parityajya mame kam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papabhyo mokshayasami mashacha. This famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita says one who gives up his swadharma, which Bharata obviously did, his kingship, and takes full shelter of Krishna, then Krishna eradicates all previous karma, your sinful reactions, so to speak. So, and the Brahma Samhita says, karmani nirtahati kinchita bhakti bhajam. Those who are engaging in bhakti to me, to Govinda, Krishna, their karma is completely burned up. Nirtahati means completely burned up. There's no seeds. The way that karma works is that when you commit some sinful activity, or even some pious activity that's totally fruitive, you plant a seed in your mind and in the karmic record, so to speak, that later fructifies into a reaction, either good, so-called good or bad. If it's a very sinful activity, then there's suffering. And if it's a good activity, it'll fructify in some wealth or some better birth or whatever it may be. So all this is going on. And in our ordinary life, material life, we're performing so many activities that later fructify in reactions. And we don't normally, in the ordinary consciousness, without any access to such a knowledge that we're reading here, we don't know why, just bad luck. We think, no, but it's not bad luck. It's completely due to your good or bad activities in previous life. But here, King Bharat Maharaj, was certainly engaged in very intense devotional service. And how is it that this karma has come about? In other words, how this prarabdha karma. So I did some research, and it's interesting that in the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he describes it, yes, this is actually karma, but it's being awarded by Krishna for a very specific reason. It's not to punish Maharaj Bharat, but it's to increase his desire for perfection in devotional service. And he cites this verse, which I'll give to you. It's a famous verse in Krishna, in the middle of the rasa dance. You may remember that Krishna disappears from the gopis, and then he even leaves Radharani. He does this with the gopis, and he stays with Radharani a while, and she shows a little bit of pride, and he disappears from them. And then they're bereft, they go mad, they're enacting his pastimes. You remember the whole thing? You know, there's an incredible description there. Then they have these songs of separation, and finally he returns. He returns, and then they actually have the rasa dance. They actually engage in the rasa dance. So then they ask him some questions when he returns. You know, what do you think of the different ways in which people reciprocate loving affairs? Those who reciprocate nicely, those who don't reciprocate, and those who never have any loving affairs, and like that. So finally, after he gives a statement, he chants this verse, which is well known. Naham tu sakyo bhajato pijatun jantun. But the reason I do not immediately reciprocate, says Krishna, I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can think of nothing else. So, Krishna, when you study Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan, you read the Krishna book, right? You can see that he's like a great maestro, you know, or director of a play, in which his whole business there is to evoke the most intense emotions, varieties of intense emotions from the coward boyfriends, from the gopis, from his mother, from the cows, everything. And so some demon will come like Kaliya, you know, and then wrap him in the coils, right? He doesn't, I mean, what's an ordinary snake like that? To Krishna, he could easily just eradicated him, killed him right away. But he didn't want to be killed. He wasn't meant to be killed. And he wanted to evoke this very intense feeling of protection and love from the Bijbasis. So he stays enwrapped. And just imagine, there's this huge snake with many hoods, practically like a dragon. He can spit fire, you know, poison, like a cobra with 100 hoods, you know. And huge. He's already poisoned the whole lake in the Yamuna. Even the air is poisoned. The birds that fly over, they fall down into the lake. And so, and here's this delicate little boy. They don't know he's God. They don't know he's full of all these unlimited potencies. He could just slap this snake and finish him off. But he stays there. Why? Just to ratchet up, if you will, intensify the feelings of love and concern and desperation that they all feel. And you read that pastime. They're on the shore, seeing Krishna, and they want to go in. Mother Yashoda wants to go in, and Balaram knows that. He says, no, you can't go in. Everything will be all right. He stops them. So they're fainting, they're crying, you know, the cows, everyone, the animals, all the insects, they're all pure devotees of Krishna. For 2 hours, if I remember correctly from Krishna book, until he saw they were on the point of, you know, expiring practically. And then, you know the story, he breaks out. Just imagine the scene, what a relief it was. He breaks out, jumps up, and starts dancing on the hoods. You know, it's not that he broke out and then swam to the shore, you know, let me get away from that snake. No, he made a whole pastime out of it. And it's dancing. I read one of the Shastras, how all of the different beats, all of the rhythms in the music and in the Sanskrit language all originated from Krishna's dancing on those hoods. And the Gandharvas are throwing flowers, you know, and everything is a big celebration. So you can imagine the relief, the outpouring of love. And it described when he finally came out, he was all decked out. You know, that this Kaliya, he was reformed too. He was purifying, chastened. And the wonderful prayers of the Nagapatnis, his wives. And he goes, okay, just go back where you came from, Ramanaka Island. You know, don't worry about Garuda. He won't bother you anymore. My footprints are imprinted on your head. He'll see you've been blessed. So Kaliya is now, you know, no more a demon. And then he comes out of that lake, And, they're just crying and embracing him, and everyone is holding on, and it's just a wonderful scene. So that contrast, and he does it with all these demons. There's this danger, the Govardhan Leela. It's like that. So here Krishna is doing a similar thing with Bharat. And he's come up to this Bhava stage, but using a little bit of his... Now, the word is, in the original verse, is Svarabda karma. And this is a very important word. Svarabda, there's these different stages of fructification of karma, say of sinful karma. There's the bija, the kuta, the aprarabdha, and the prarabdha. The bija is like the kind of the seed that you plant when you commit a sin. Nothing happens right away. I got away with it. You think you got away with it, you're doing sin. But no, it's planted a seed that will eventually fructify in a sinful reaction, either this life or a future life. And then it goes, the kuta is a little more developed. That's like a tendency. One of the results of sin is your tendency to do it again. Right? Either way, or you're forming your consciousness. If you hurt somebody, or you get into that mode, you're associating with modes of nature. You do an activity, the tendency to become conditioned and do it again. Right? So that's kuta, the tendency it's a little further on. Then you have the aprarabdha karma, where it hasn't manifested yet, but it's going to manifest soon. And the prarabdha karma is when you're actually suffering a sinful reaction. Now, in total ignorance, people are, why would this happen to me? Why would I all of a sudden get sick? Why would this child die like that? They don't know. So it's a great ignorance. But this is going on constantly. So this Bharata Maharaj, he had some good karma, in the sense that it was good karma that he was kind. He was a soft-hearted devotee. And therefore, when this fawn was in trouble, he naturally would help, just like we would. You see a little child, fell down and she hurt a leg, and you're crying. Well, you're not going to just walk past him. He's going to try to help, get the mother, somehow or the devotee. So he was a devotee. Plus, he had this good karma, and Krishna used that. This is the whole point. It was under the control of Krishna, so that it would heighten his devotion in the next life, and he would become completely perfect. Or 2 lives later, when we became Jad Bharat. So that's how it's explained. And in our own lives, also, we can understand, look back and how did we become involved in Krishna consciousness. And we can see that sometimes it's a turn, one way or another. It could have gone this way or that way. In my own life, I could have easily been a member, all these years of the Ramakrishna mission, God forbid. And gone in a different direction, But Krishna guided me, to come, you can see. And he made it painful to be there, It's like, anyway, it was just, at first it was attractive, but then it became not attractive. That I was attracted to the devotees. So, now, in our present period here, where we're gearing up for the marathon. I think the reason we're not going to see Vijay early in the morning for these classes, at least on this weekend. This is a special time. He went out early. It looks like Amoga maybe did also. So this is the special effort to reach the conditioned souls. It was originally started because there's a certain mood where people are in a more giving mood, the mood of Christmas. I mean, even I remember this way back when I was a child. I wasn't raised in a Christian family, raised in a Jewish family. But then when Christmas time came, practically all, everyone else in the school, the grade school was Christian, that was dominant. So we would sing the hymns, we would sing, Silent Night, all of these different things. And I felt the mood. I felt that the whole mood of Christ and the giving and a lot of charities going on. I'd go out with UNICEF, and this is the UN's charity. So therefore, and since people are in that mood, they're all shopping. That's especially this weekend. It's a good time to reach them and with books, with Srila Prabhupada's books, which is the greatest good fortune of anybody in this world is to get a book of Srila Prabhupada. You know, it's not an ordinary book. This is Krishna calling to you, you know, through the voice of his pure devotee in the most auspicious way. And so we're trying to I don't want to say change their karma, but give them that experience of meeting a devotee, even if they don't take a book, you know, to have to hear the holy name, to at least feel, as Prabhupada said, if they have a positive feeling about the devotee who they meet, that itself is the first step in their devotional life. You know, and Krishna sees that. And so it's the weavings of the webs of karma and into action and inaction. It's impossible to see how it's all working, but we can understand that we're emissaries. We're representatives of Krishna, of Srila Prabhupada, of this movement. We ourselves have benefited. We certainly, to so many degrees in our own lives. I think we would all testify to that. And we can see that this is really the way to perfect one's life, and it's the most auspicious thing, obviously, that is going on in the world. Because, I mean, I've been aware of current events for a long time, and the situation now looks quite dire. I mean, needless to say, what other positive thing can possibly be there than people to turn to Krishna and become curious, and become interested in Krishna consciousness, and start their career in devotional life. So we're agents for Krishna. Now, this is a very refined period where Bharata Maharaj is anything but sinful. Obviously, he's not sinful. But that little bit of karma, good karma, where he's kind, and Krishna used that to give him this other life where he would spend a dear life, you know, I mean, obviously saying, well, I'll never do that again, you know. In other words, that was a big mistake. And when he was next born, to become Jad Bharat. So we're also trying to intervene. I like this idea of an intervention. In many ways, a material life. All right, well, he's setting it up right in front of the people who are sitting. That's not very intelligent. Yeah, but just put it in the back a little bit. If you want to sit on a chair, yeah. They're together. Put that chair over there. Put the chair over. They don't want chairs. Okay, then take the chairs away. But we have seats. We have some of those. You could use. God, Hare Krishna. So, where was I? So yeah, you can look upon material life as the life of addiction. This idea of addiction, I like to point out in this verse, Prabhupada would often quote in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It says, Shotram chakshu sparsanangsha rasanam granam evacha adistaya manushchayam vishayan ivasevate. Which means that he's describing the process of transmigration, which is really important to understand, of the soul. And in the ordinary course of events, someone leaves the body, and they leave the gross body, but the subtle body is there, the mind and the intelligence, the ego. And during the course of our lives, of his life, the living entity is developing certain attachments and karmas and so forth. So the destiny is set when he leaves the body. Higher forces are seeing that. Karmana daivanetrena. Daivanate means the supervision of Daiva, with the super soul and the demigods. So then we get another body, and this verse describes what happens there. Shrotam chakra sparshanam sha, assuming that you're going to be born in a vertebrate body, so to speak. You'll have a certain kind of eye, ear, sense of touch, sense of taste. All the five senses will be there, grouped around the mind. And Vishayanupasevate, that's the way the verse ends. Now Vishayana are the object of the senses. So you're born as a dog. Now you're no longer attracted to rose flowers, You have something else you want to smell, and you want to eat something, and you hear something. Dogs are good in hearing, So, but the word upasevate, I looked this up because I deal with words all the time, editing for many years, in the Sanskrit dictionary, and one of the meanings is to become addicted. To become addicted. In other words, we experience that all the time. It may not be officially medical addiction that, you know, you're forced to take it in a sense, but you're habituated to take, you know. Chocolate. You know, you don't say, well, chocolate addiction, you have to go to rehab. No, you know, you have to use your good sense and cut back, you know, otherwise it's ruining your health, whatever. But everything that we repeatedly, that we sense that is pleasurable, if something goes on in the brain, they figure that out, chemicals. If you keep doing it, you'll become obsessed with it. You can call it addiction. And so material life is really a constellation of different addictions, often to people, right? Other persons. And then it's so painful when that breaks up, when that you know, stops. So you can't stop the addiction. Think of it as just a strong attraction. Sangha. Sangha is a central concept in the process of bhakti, of yoga. Sangha means association, as in sadhu sangha, the famous satsanga, right? Satsang. But that association breeds attachment. Sangha sanjayate kama, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. According to who and what and that you associate with, you develop your attachments, and it can grow into what's called kama, which is a very powerful attachment that you want to fulfill, desire that you want to fulfill. So this is we're walking around with a whole series of attachments that we're cultivating. Some we've given up, and so forth. And Krishna makes it very clear that all these attachments, material attachments, are what binds us to this world of suffering. The attachments themselves can cause so much suffering. We see extreme cases with drugs and, you know, alcohol. You know, it would just destroy the mind and body. And you try to reason with the person, but that's what addiction is, that it's taken over your body. You can't give it up on your own. So what happens, you know, in that case? If someone is fortunate, say it's not reached the critical stage, but someone is going down the road of being an alcoholic, say. But they have friends and family, you know, and the family, of course, the friends are seeing, oh, you're going to ruin your family, your relationship, you know, the job. So they intervene. They help. Listen, we love you, you know, you're ruining your life. Come with us, you're going to rehab, right? Or AA, you know. There's an AA up the street here. I went a couple of times, not because I'm an alcoholic, but I was invited to come and speak. To speak, yeah. No. And so that, you know, and then someone can get the strength from the association of other reformed or reforming alcoholics to say, yes, I'm going to go on the wagon, as they say, for a while, you know. And from that association, you can turn it to more wholesome channels, your desires. That's the whole idea. So we're like that. We're all reformed, you know, or becoming reformed, materialists, and we're becoming, our desires being purified, hopefully, and redirected from all of our material attachments to Krishna. To Krishna's service, Krishna's devotees, everything involved with bhakti. And we see a wonderful goal, you know, involved. And it's clear at the beginning in the second chapter that don't even worry if you don't succeed in this life. You should try as hard as possible to go back to Godhead and become perfect. But if you don't, you'll still take with you your devotional assets to the next life. So isn't this, you know, objectively speaking, it's the most valuable thing that could possibly be. The ultimate intervention for the ultimate benefit of the addicts. We're surrounded by addicts, you know, of the materialists. And we want to give them the opportunity to begin their rehab from materialism to pure bhakti, which we're also in, you know. And that's, you can really think of it like that. And so the process of devotional service, we see Bharat Maharaj has reformed so much. I mean, you can imagine the opportunity for attachment. You're the emperor of the world, you have unlimited power, unlimited wealth, you know. But he was a great devotee from beginning. You remember, we go back to his father's instructions, right? Nayam deho deha bhajanga loke kushtan kamanada te vidbhujanye. Don't waste this precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for hoggish happiness. He described, it's not on the same level. It's the same category of what the hogs are enjoying. Well, I don't want to do that. Yeah, well, your attachment for material things on the human level is in the same category. No, you have to practice austerity, purifying the consciousness so that you become eligible to enjoy unlimited happiness and unending happiness. It's not that you're going to become an ascetic for ascetic state, and you take pleasure in mortifying the flesh, It's not like that. We perform austerities for the purpose of, and they're all authorized under the guidance of the Guru and the Shastra and the sadhus, for purifying our senses, purifying our consciousness, so that we're able to taste more and more of the spiritual happiness. And the first installment is becoming less and less bound and controlled by our former lower desires. That's what the four regular principles are all about. Realizing, no, I don't need, to eat the steaks and all these things. I'm completely finished with that. It's just abominable when you realize what the nature of it actually is. And that's, it can be a big attachment. The tongue can take you to hell or take you back to Godhead, take prasadam. So it's all very scientifically worked out by Krishna and through the Shastra. And we have the greatest benediction. Krishna appears as Lord Chaitanya to give us a way that's suitable and practicable that we can actually follow, chanting the holy name as the main process. Kalir dosha nide raja nasti eko mahagunad kirtanaiva Krishna sam mukta sangha paramajay. There's that word sangha again. It's exactly pertinent. So can anyone deny this? That this Kali Yuga, where we're living, is an ocean of faults. And the ocean, it seems like the ocean is being polluted more and more with more faults. But there's one very great quality to this age, opportunity. And that is Kirtanadeva Krishna Shab, just by chanting the holy name of the Lord in congregation and also individually. Mukta Sangha Param Bhajet. In those one line, 8 syllables, the whole process is condensed. Mukta Sangha means you're freed from your damaging attachments, and you become more attached to Krishna. And Param Bhajet, you go to the supreme abode to be, you get it back home, back to Godhead. So that should be our the revelation says, okay, let me try it, let me do it. And that's really the whole purpose of Sankirtan, the book distribution, so that someone will become attracted, their intelligence will be purified. There has to be some understanding to increase the faith. So that leads to a little curiosity, some preliminary faith, so that they'll read more books. Reading the books of Prabhupada is the greatest sadhu sangha that there is, because you're associating with Prabhupada in the most important way through the words. As he said, there's Vani Seva and Vapu Seva. The Vani, or the words, are more important than even serving him personally. When that's available, one should try as hard as possible. But now Prabhupada has gone over 40 years on his Vapu form, but as he said, I will live on forever through my books. And so you're getting that great association, which is hopefully, if you read the books, you'll plant a seed of interest, curiosity. So you want to know more, you may visit the temple, or you're living out in the middle of nowhere, get online. And that's also Sangha, through the medium. It can be very powerful. And in this way, Krishna attracts in that way. He attracts the person. So that you want to come, and then you want to do bhajan. Sadhu, Ado Shraddha, little faith, little interest. Sadhu Sangha, association with the sadhus, and then why don't I try what they're doing? They gave me these beads, let me try it. Hare Krishna, okay, you get that. And of course there's the kirtans. And the interest peaks and you become interested, and if you're fortunate, you want to pursue that more and more. It's all a question of purification. Hare Krishna, welcome. So these wonderful accounts in the Bhagavatam, it's one after another. We went through Dhruva, we went through the whole thing with Paranjan and Maharaj Prithu. You remember that? And now we're in the 5th canto with Rishabdev and Bharat and Jadabhart's teachings. And we'll, of course, have these prayers. I remember when I was working on this canto, the prayers of the residents of Jambudweep. There's a whole thing about the universe. And each one you get into it, there's so much can be learned, so much can be realized and shared with each other. This is what bhakti means, is that you share. That's why it's always a group. The kirtan, Sankirtan is the essence, the epitome of it. I'm chanting, you're hearing, you're chanting, I'm hearing. In this way, we're the most important association, the holy name, which is the great benediction of the age. So we should take advantage of this the gift that Prabhupada has given, and we should try to give it to others. As Prabhupada points out again and again, and I'm sure we'll hear in this Sankirtan book, Krishna says, Nachatasma manusheshu kastame priya kritama, those who share this knowledge that I'm giving, Bhagavad Gita, and this is also his knowledge, Bhagavatam, are the dearest to me, most dear to me of all the devotees. Because he sees that exactly what Krishna is trying to evoke, that sense of caring, of relishing, after all these millions of births of being estranged from Krishna, forgetting Krishna, we're remembering Krishna and feeling some awakenings of attraction for Krishna, and to give that medicine, that precious knowledge and practice to other living entities who have been in darkness, then that's what bhakti is all about. It's all about giving, and enjoying when what you're giving is giving the person you're giving to the highest happiness. We're giving to Krishna, we're glorifying him, and he's, appreciates that. Shinvatam Sukata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. When he understands that someone is hearing about him in the proper way, with some respect and receptivity, as Prabhupada said, there's a submissive oral reception, ardent hearing, then how does he reciprocate? Who can say? Anyone remember? Srinvatam Sukata Krishna, what does he do? Vidunoti. Abhadra Vidunoti. Vidunoti means cleansing. He cleanses the inauspicious things in the heart that have been there since time immemorial. And that's the most important thing. Is that after all these births and years of having this occluded heart where we can't understand ourselves, we can't understand Krishna, we don't understand the purpose of life, we try to enjoy these flickering little sense pleasures and just get more and more entangled, more suffering, on and on and on and on and on. Now comes the light of Krishna consciousness, and Krishna from within the heart, he's cleansing, and he's also giving us the opportunity to be cleansed from outside. He comes as the spiritual master, as the Shastra, as the other devotees. Because he loves us. He wants us to come back. We're estranged, we're exiles, we're wandering children of his. So when we see that, all these other living entities, well, we can't do much for the insects, we can give them a Hare Krishna, but we can give these human beings a book, and they have the intelligence, they can understand it. So we see everybody as our brothers and sisters. And Prabhupada says this is the only way there will ever be peace in the world, and brotherhood, fraternity, and peace. And otherwise, we can see all the divisions, different colors. Oh my God, there's craziness with the racism and classism. And what about ethnicity, nationality? Don't come into my country. It's all madness, based on bodily concept of life. So we're coming out of that madness, becoming sane and dhira, self-controlled. And when we even in the most rudimentary way, we try to give this knowledge to others. Krishna just showers his blessings on us. Everything becomes so much more tasty. I'm going through. I highly recommend, by the way, these Following Srila Prabhupada DVDs. They're now all on YouTube, and you can follow the whole history of Prabhupada. The UK Rath Yatra in 1973, unbelievable. There's all these devotees, everyone's shining with bliss, and Prabhupada comes on the procession. They thought he would he was ill, supposedly. They didn't even want him to go, fly from Calcutta. Said, no, it's an opportunity to preach. So he comes. And usually he would sit on this Subhadra's cart on the Vyasasana and go in that way on the procession. He didn't sit at all. He started walking, then he started dancing. He was supposedly ill, but he transcended it all. The bobbies were going nuts. They said, "Can you tell your leader he's blocking the traffic?" And Prabhupada just he they couldn't reach him. He was doing, and all the devotees were going nuts. You can experience that. You can go and see and get a taste for the and who are those people who were dancing? A year ago or 3 years ago, 5 years ago, they were also like I was, smoking dope and trying to find them. But then by association with Prabhupada, the process of devotional service, the books, the regimen, become purified and become dancing ecstatic. That's really, what this movement is all about. So that's what we're trying to give to people, experience ourselves, and to give out and invite more and more people to join Krishna's family. Rejoin. Okay, it's a little late. Do we have any comments? Maharaj, please. And we have a mic.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. You were talking about how Krishna puts the devotees in anxiety to bring out their loving emotion. Well, you see how they were suffering? Mother Yasoda and all the residents of Vrindavan on the bank, almost at the point of death. And, the gopis in separation, the Pandavas and all the difficulty. So are we just chess pieces that Krishna just moves around and lets us suffer so that he relishes some happiness? That seems almost cruel. So what is that? Is Krishna torturing us and putting us in suffering so he can relish, they surrendered to me and called out with prayers? It's almost like some kind of sadistical thing.
Yeah, it looks like that to those who don't externally. This is one of the reasons why those passages, that describe that, they're like in the 10th canto, and even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when you see Lord Chaitanya, he's rubbing his face on the Gambhira, blood is coming. What is this? It's in the Antya Lila. You have to. But actually, these passages or these arrangements that Krishna makes, even though to us, and it's described that way, how they were lamenting, it's actually the highest ecstasy because their attention and feelings toward Krishna are intensified. Their meditation on Krishna is even more complete, if you will, more absorbed, and more. The anxiety produces the highest kinds of ecstasy. It is a paradoxical, difficult to understand. I don't understand it. But Queen Kunti, in her famous prayer, they went through so much. They had the exile, the house of lack, which they were almost burned alive. They were saved by Vidura. He gave them a hint, to escape. Probably said they dug a subway, and got out. And then, in the forest, they're all alone, and all the man-eaters are coming. But Kunti is praying that, now the battle is over, and, Yudhishthira's on the throne, and, Krishna's now ready to go back to Dwarka. And he says, no, forget that. Let them happen all again, because by those dangers, Vipadak means dangers, we see you again. Now, that doesn't mean that Krishna was there personally in the forest, although he did come when needed, But you see, your absorption in thinking of Krishna and the emotion of calling out to him and praying for help is heightened. Even in Vrindavan, we see, after the Kaliya pastime, what happens? A forest fire comes. Everyone was so exhausted they just took rest right on the beach, of the Yamuna. And so then suddenly this big forest fire comes, and no, Hare Krishna, please save us. We have no one but you. He swallows it up. So this is what's the state? What's their state while they're calling out to Krishna and feeling the threat? Yeah, it looks like the greatest pain, but internally their meditation on Krishna is even more intense, so it results in the most highest ecstasy. It's a mystery. But go ahead, Maris.
I agree with you. I don't disagree. In addition to, I'm thinking of the Govardhan Leela, and although they were in anxiety and suffering, it actually when the whole thing was over, how wonderful Krishna is.
Yes.
So that experience, it's relishable even at the time, and then when the danger's over, how their intensity increases. Like when the gopis are separate from Krishna, and then they get his association again. You getting him some prasadam? Very good. Then it brings him to a higher level of happiness. So it's not that Krishna's just torturing them for his own pleasure, but he's actually increasing their pleasure. That's the point.
Yeah.
It's not exploitative for his happiness, but he's bringing out their happiness.
Yeah, that's true. And also in the Govardhan Leela, there's a special thing where, during the ordinary Leela, he would go out to the forest, and the gopis would be in separation, and parents, and then he'd come back. So really, no one saw him that much, But then for a whole week, day and night, without any stoppage, they all had his association, and that was special. You read the Nectar of Devotion, so many things happened under that hill, So it's it's all auspicious in the end. Anyone else comment or question? Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.